Hello my fellow freaks, it's Exequie. So this is the second video that's going up on my channel today. So this video is going to be a little bit personal, but I'm going to try to keep it mostly general because I feel like this topic is just as important as the last one I talked about, which is knowledge, and you can find that video as the most recent one on my channel. So today's video is going to be about judgment, and I don't just mean judgment in general, but I do mean, I'm going to give you some examples of some judgment that I've been going through recently, because I've had a bad few weeks, which might seem like I'm not at my best right now, because I'm really not, and, I'm not afraid to admit it. Everybody has rough days, and sometimes rough weeks, so that's what I'm going through right now. So, yes, I'm going to be talking about judgment, mainly judgment in society and judgment in the world. So, my last video was about knowledge, and I mentioned in that video that people are very concerned with celebrities' lives and celebrity gossip more than they are about their own. And I felt like that video was a good segue into this one, because I mentioned briefly in the last video, I mentioned people being judgmental in that one, but for a different reason. But in this one, I'm going, as I said, to be talking about it on a more personal level, because these last few weeks I've dealt with some very judgmental people. So I don't just go through this, I'm a Hyperion myself, so I don't just go through this kind of judgmental thing when I'm dealing with people wanting to argue with me on social media about Hyperionism. I'm not just talking about that kind of judgment where they are talking about something they don't understand, whereas I'm coming from a side where I do understand it. I'm not necessarily talking about that kind of judgment, but today's video is more about judgment of the darkness in people, mainly because obviously I have a very dark side to me, which you see a lot on this channel and a lot on my social media, because that's the angle that I take my creativity in, and that's my theme, pretty much, is a very dark theme. But yes, in my personal life I am very much dark in real life. It's not just something I do for social media, it's something that is very important to me. It's a side of myself that I grew up not really ignoring, but more suppressing, because the way I was raised, you really couldn't be as dark as I knew I was inside. But yeah, over the years I've just let out more and more of my dark side, and ever since then I've run into a shit ton of problems with people that just cannot seem to accept the life transitions I've gone through, and I have a video on that which will be in the description box and also on my channel. Every video I mention, I will put it in the description box as well, so that you don't just have to go to my channel. You can find the link in the video below, and the same thing goes for my last video, because I mentioned some videos in that one too, so there'll be some videos in that one as well in the description box of the last video. But yes, from a personal standpoint, there's a lot of examples I can give you, but I'm going to try to give you some of the most recent ones that I have been dealing with. So, speaking of the dark side of myself, for a good chunk of my life, I have been very interested in true crime. And I notice a lot of videos like that on YouTube, and I do watch them because it's an interest of mine. But that's the main example I'm going to give you guys today when it comes to judgment. I get judged so harshly and heavily on my interest in true crime. I've even had people call me a serial killer, because they see how interested I am in learning about serial killers and their crimes. Is that what you say to people that go into forensic science as a job, or people that are morticians? Or do you say the same thing to them? I'm sure you do. You think that they're, obsessed with death, or that they're killers just because they're interested in these subjects? It really isn't up to you to decide how or who or what somebody else chooses to be. It's up to that person. And I'm speaking to the judgmental people when I say that, to the people out there that are like that want to call people out on being themselves. Really is what they're being. Is they're being themselves. They're being true to important parts of themselves instead of suppressing them like I used to do and hiding these things. They're being true to themselves about these things, and that's important. But yes, I'm not exaggerating, I have had people call me a serial killer because of my interest in crime and criminals. It's just one of my many dark interests, is really what it is. Just because I have an interest in serial killers doesn't mean I'm going to go outside and murder someone. I don't know where anybody gets that from, honestly. I just think people need to focus more on themselves, and I mentioned this in my last video as well. They need to focus more on themselves instead of focusing so hard on what others choose to make their life. It's called life transitions. Life changes is really what life transitions are. And I am constantly going through life transitions. And yes, right now I am in one of the darkest places I've ever been, but I don't mean that in like a negative dark way. I mean that in a positive dark way. Because darkness can be positive, and that's what a lot of people are missing. I am not, when I say I'm interested in true crime and stuff like that, I'm not defending these criminals at all. I'm just being honest about a dark part of myself. And I have the right to do that, whether people think I do or not. I don't want this to turn into much of a rant video, but it does anger me, and it upsets me that people will not allow people to be themselves. They always have to open their mouth and say something about what others choose to be. And that is totally not fair. I don't do that to you, so please do not do it to me. I'm asking you nicely. Anybody out there that wants to be judgmental to me or anybody else, especially if it's something that doesn't affect you, such as somebody's interest. The true crime thing is just one example I gave you. There's so many things that are dark about me that I've been judged upon, and not just in my personal life, but also on my social media. There's been a lot of people that have problems with the darker side of myself, but that is my image that I'm going with. My darker side is the side that I'm bringing out on social media. If people can't see that from the start, or if they can't explore before they look farther into my social media, then they want to decide they have a problem with me. That's their issue. They need to work on being less judgmental until they are not judgmental anymore. That would be my advice for that person. Work on yourself, become less judgmental until you're not judgmental at all. Keep working on that, because it's my life. I live for me, and I posted this on my social media very recently. This is my life. I live for myself. I do not live for you. Again, I'm speaking to those that want to be judgmental out there. I live my life for me. I do not live it for you. You do not have to like the same things that I like. And you know, one thing that really gets to me as well is people say the word mental like it's a joke, and it's not. As somebody that struggles with mental illness, I actually do have mental illness, I do not think it's funny for people to walk around saying, oh, that's mental, or you're mental. Really? Really? You're gonna go there? Mental illness is a serious thing. It's not a slang word for you to use. Are you kidding me? It's really offensive, especially to somebody like me that has struggled with mental illness my whole life. My mental illness is part of why I'm interested in so many dark things. It's a gravitational pull towards me. Darkness pulls me in. This is who I am. You don't have to like it. I will always be a dark individual because I'm happy being a dark individual. Again, I'm not living for you, I'm living for me. You don't have to be happy with the changes that I make, only I have to be happy with them. I'm not trying to come off aggressive or anything, I'm just trying to really make my point here. This society, this world is way too judgmental, and that needs to stop. We need to slow the judgment down until it finally comes to a stop, because it's getting to a ridiculous amount, in my opinion. And in my life, personally, as well. Just because somebody has a dark interest or a bunch of dark interests, it doesn't make them a bad person. People need to understand the difference between negative and bad. Huge difference. And dark as well. Dark is a completely different thing as well from negative and bad. Those are all different. Negative it doesn't just mean bad. Negative can also mean dark. Alright? We need to work with, as an empath, I know what I'm talking about when I say this. We need to work with both dark and light energies to really be in tune with ourselves, and that is what I'm doing. Just because I'm very dark doesn't mean I never harness my light side. These people want to act like they're around me all the time. You're not. Just because you see these parts of myself, the dark parts, doesn't mean that that's all there is to me, and you have no right to judge me on that, or anything else that I show you at any point. I'm being open and honest about parts of myself, and that's not easy to do. So I would appreciate it if people would stop being so judgmental, and I'm trying to really work on myself to stop myself from getting so triggered and pissed and upset about what people judge me on and everything like that. And I admit it is something I need to work on, because I should not let these people get to me like I do let them get to me. But I'm making this video to stand up for myself and anybody else that has ever been judged for anything, especially being judged for something that doesn't affect others, but they want to judge you about it anyways because they think they have the right to, such as my interest in true crime or anything else that's dark. So, my final points. I'm not a serial killer. That's one. I am interested in true crime. And I'm not ashamed of it. I see it as something that I can learn. I do research about true crime. And anybody out there that's being judged, who cares? Just work on yourself to learn how to move past it, because you are better than anybody out there that wants to live their entire life being judgmental of others. And again, the people that want to be judgmental, you also need to work on yourself and make your judgment less and less until you're not judging people anymore, because you really should not be concerned with other people's lives or anything that others are doing or saying that does not concern you. That would be my advice there. So, middle finger to anybody that wants to judge me, or that wants to say mental like it's a joke, or anything that I've talked about in this video. And I'm sorry if I've been rambling in this video and my last video, because they're both going up today. I have not had the best past few weeks, and this is one reason why. So I really am trying to channel all my dark, or I should say bad energy into these videos, but not to make you guys feel negative, but I'm trying to use it to get it out of myself and to use it to empower others to move past any judgments that are made upon them. If people want to focus so hard on one part of yourself, that's their problem. Don't make it yours. Now I'm going to work on taking my own advice. So yes. So that's the end of this video. Again, my social media links will be in the description bar below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.